I graduated with a geological engineering degree, and several years later got a master's of engineering at University of Alberta in geotechnical engineering. And I focused my life on geotechnical engineering, a lot of foundation work, later getting into work on dams, tunnels, largely hydro and water supply. And that's been my main focus for those 50 years. I was hired by Crippen Consultants. They actually had several names: Crippen Consultants, Crippen Engineering. I was initially hired after graduating for one job and just stayed for many years. I was hired by the geologist. At that time it was geologists and very few geological engineers for a drilling program, which immediately got delayed, and I went to work for the soils engineer or geotechnical engineer on other aspects until the drilling was ready to go. And I continued for at least a dozen years working for the two senior folks on various projects. The thing I've enjoyed most about being an engineer in the geotechnical field is that every job is different and every project has its challenges to be overcome. I would say that's without exception in the field. It's never boring. There's always something that needs sorting out, investigating, analysis, and it's that constant change in various aspects that has kept me enjoying it for all these times. My most challenging project, well, I'll speak to that because it's my most recent, and that is the Site C project in Northeast BC, really a mega project, perhaps the largest in British Columbia's history in terms of dollars and complexity, I would say. Very challenging. The structures are on a weak foundation, and there's been surprises at every turn for now 7 years of construction, and before that 6 years of investigation and analysis and design. It's been a constant challenge in solving issues during construction. Change that to me has been way overdue is seeing the number of women entering the field, entering the profession. This is a really, to me, is a big step up in normalizing the industry, getting the industry to represent really the community. The engineering profession, certainly in Vancouver, has, to me, always been a United Nations of engineers and geoscientists as well. And we see that continuing, and it's really necessary to get the people we need into this field, because every field, not just engineering, but engineering as well as all fields, we are constantly challenged to be fully staffed with capable people. No two projects are the same, yet you draw on your experience from multiple projects to be applied on the next one. And I think that's really it. There's, I would say, certainly rarely a week, and often not even a day that goes by where there's not some other new or slightly different thing coming up, whether it's investigations, the type of ground, the responses of the ground. And it's just that constant change that's always been exciting about the field. Number one, I think, is that I took on field assignments of more and more complexity, I would say, at a fairly young age. After working 3-4 years, I was out on a dam site. I'd worked 7 or 8 years, and I was after that I was running multi-million-dollar investigation projects. And that's going back, over 40 years. So those were big projects, and the work in the field, I think, is important to understand, number one, what you know, and have an opportunity to be making decisions, sometimes on your own, or understanding when you need to get support from the office. And I think that's a big part of growing as an engineer. I think another choice I made it twice actually. I left Crippen and joined, at that time, Clone-Leonov for a very exciting job in Papua New Guinea. I had worked with individuals from Clone-Leonov before that, in particular Ray Benson, our former president. And it was an opportunity to sort of gain from their experience and mentorship. That was, I think, a big part of my growth. After that, I left Clone-Leonov and returned to Crippen with an opportunity to take on lead design on a very challenging project, an underground powerhouse, and also see that through its construction. So that, was another huge step to me to just gaining confidence in what I was doing. I think one thing I would tell myself is to have a 5-year plan and just think about where you want to be in 5 years in terms of the education you're gaining and the experience you're gaining, and be prepared to change it long before 5 years, because the profession, the industry is partly opportunistic, in that new projects come along or new opportunities come along. And so you should be watching for those as you go along in your development, that there may be something comes along that is a step outside what you were expecting or hoping or planning, but is a good opportunity. So you should be sort of thinking in those terms, I would say, throughout your career. Always looking for new opportunities, but also having an eye on where you want to be in a few years in this profession. I think that's the big thing to watch for, is in other words, I would say, thinking of yourself in that way. When I started work, I was of the mentality that came from other jobs, from my father, that when you were told to do something, you just went and did it. And so I spent probably a little more time out on projects than I would have liked, that is, out in field projects, far away from home. So that was a challenge. I also found I got back to more life with my family as I did more and more office work. I found that when I became a group manager here, I was managing the Geotech group. And during that time, I found it very difficult with the workload to keep a good balance. I really had to work at it. And fortunately, my wife would occasionally drag me back into real life and away from reports and planning things, which was very good. So it's something that is something definitely to keep in mind, that you can do so much, and after that you're going to start giving up other things. It's necessary sometimes. We have deadlines, and there's times when you have to work more than you might like just to meet those deadlines. But on the other side, you have to have a life outside of the office. It's just so important. I recall the time I was cruising on the Rhone River in France, and my wife took a picture of me with the vineyards in the background and me working on my computer, dealing with a stressful project. Every once in a while, she would wave that picture in front of me and remind me to put the computer away for a while. That was embarrassing. Mentorship, it's a big part of growing, I think. And it needn't be heavy-handed. One thing I did with the young engineers, I tried my best to do, was once, twice, sometimes 3 times a week, I'd just get up out of my office and just walk through the office and see what junior engineers were working on, and stop and talk to them for a few minutes, see if, make sure they're fully engaged, ask if they're having problems, look over what they're doing, and just chat with them and make sure that things are going well. I think just doing that is a big part of mentorship, just staying in touch with them. And it also gives them the opportunity, of course, to talk back and with their issues if they have them. I think that's a big part of it. Another thing, I'll say because it was the seniors in the geotechnical group, at that time Steve Allfield, Andrew Port, we would sort of implicitly, I would say, just make sure that in the first few years, engineers got as broad an experience as they could. They would start on grunt work. They'd be doing simple calculations. After some time, get them to work on proposals, get them working on analysis and doing a few things on their own, working on reports, because communications is so important. Some young engineers spend years doing the same thing and they're not growing. It's just so important to get that broad experience. So I think just doing that for the engineers and having really open communications with the young engineers is probably the 2 prime things I tried to focus on with mentorship.